Alright, so Noelle as a unit is truly just insane. I think even with how things are looking, she's probably like top 7. She might be 7th best in the game around, maybe. I need to, like, if we do a top 10 list, I'll probably update my top 10 list actually season 5 when we get Langris and Yuno. I'm gonna wait for them, do my tier list, and then top 10. I think that's how it's gonna work. She'd for sure be in the top 10. She's just really good overall around debuffer. We're gonna talk about her obviously in this video because it is a guide video for her. Even though her build's pretty easy, people always ask me about supporters when they're the easiest thing to build, so I feel like I could easily do this video. Now, first of all, let's talk about the kit itself. Now, it's only been like 2.5 days, 3 days, so I don't have the best feel for her yet. But I did make my showcase. It was a 30-minute showcase, and overall, I think that I understand her kit pretty well, but how to use her skills because she's a single target debuffer is sometimes going to be very tricky. So she's basically an SP reduction character and just nullifying you from using most of your skills and reducing your damage. So skill 1 extends debuff duration by 1 turn and lowers SP by 1. The skill 2 will lower magic attack by 52%, which is good for pretty much all DPSs that are meta. If we go to character stats, we go to magic attack. We've got Charmy, who's magic attack. We've got Noelle and Julius, who are magic attack. Pretty much 3 of the best DPSs, except for Asta, right? We've got, those are basically the 3 best. So reducing magic attack is very good. And taunting. Now, what taunting does, of course, is make it so like they can only attack Noelle, which is going to be important for later. And also, it's going to make it so that you are not able to use buff skills, and you not being able to use buff skills is going to be very good for like anyone like Charmy, Noelle, Rades, right? Stops shields, stops heals, stops buffs, so it's going to be very good, and it reduces SP by 1 too. Now, we'll talk about the skill page right after. It's actually insanely good. We'll talk about that more in the skill pages section, so we'll leave that be for now. Now, afterwards, the ultimate reduces skill points by 3, which is very good. Basically makes it so you cannot ult turn 1. Now, how this works for this, if you don't count that, if you don't have the skill page, let's say, it's gonna make it like no matter what, you cannot, sorry, even if you use the skill 2, the enemy could still ult on their turn. Because reducing special points by 1 doesn't nothing turn 1 because of the fact that they're gonna go from 7 back to 8 when it's their turn. And all this really does is going to be useful for stopping buff skills, not any ultimates outright that are attack ultimates. So the ultimate is going to stop attack ultimates, where this is going to stop buffs, right, with the taunt. So it's, you use one or the other. If it's like for Rades, you're better off probably starting with this and then going with this still. But getting the taunt is very good. Now you're also going to remove all their buffs and apply weapon disarm for 34%, not 340, but 34%. So it's gonna be very good. This is an amazing ultimate. Now also her combo, her combined attack is going to be removing barrier, which is just a good combo attack to have. So, you know, you can never complain about that one, especially if you're using it with someone else, maybe like Mars. You're going to want to pair her up with Mars most of the time to get rid of barriers, in my opinion. But yeah, so how you could also do it is where you use this. She cannot buff, and because you apply the magic attack reduction, her ult doesn't do much. Or you could use this, and let's say she's already taunted or something, then she's going to use her skill 1, basically do no damage and stop her from ulting 2. So yeah, there's kind of like multiple ways. Now, her speed is extremely high at base. It's 112, which is insane. 112 is like, let's go to speed. She's up there, right? She's in this area. So that's very impressive that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people with higher speed than her. So, you know, props to that. Now, let's get into the passives section. The first passive and the second passive are both good. This dupe passive, the first part is unlocked from dupe 2. This part is unlocked from dupe 5. Now, Jesus Christ, this actually might be insane. I thought it was okay. Anyway, so the first one is basically you apply 30% incapacitate to all enemies, which is just like, wow, this could only be done if there is not Mars, whereas this passive works even if there's Mars. Now, this counts as a full-on debuff. I don't know why the reduced damage dealt one doesn't, but this one cannot be applied when there's Mars. But that's free 30% damage taken, increased damage taken on the enemies every turn, and if you every wave, which is going to be very good for PvE because of the fact that in PvE, there's 3 waves, so every wave you're going to get that 30% incapacitate, which might make it where it's better than any other debuffer's skills like Lotus's, because it's turn 1, like no one attacks and this is already applied, so she's good just for existing to get this this debuff. And then also afterwards you could like lower magic attack, taunt, weapon disarm, right? So all that stuff, she's going to be good for PvE for sure. Then afterwards you remove all continuous HP recovery buffs from from enemies when you're attacked. But honestly, for the dupe, you should probably only go for 2 dupes, because of the fact that if we check it out, it doesn't really give much good. It gives defense, magic attack, and then endurance, so not really, or is that block? It's either endurance or block, so it's not really that good. Now, the LR passive is you apply 40% reduced damage dealt on attacker class enemies, which is one of the best passives in the game for PvP. Just props to that. Even in like Hall of Illusions, this could be very good to stopping you from taking insane damage, but it won't, like, this could, I don't know where exactly, which wave, if there's a boss that this would be good for, but most just like to farm, she's gonna be insane. For PvP, she's gonna be insane. So yeah, no, overall very good. If you want to showcase, check out my showcase. I think going for 2 dupes is not bad, especially because there's only 2 of them and they're both good. Going on this banner is probably like worth it in my eyes. I think for sure it is going to be quite worth it. So if you go for dupes, go for 2, but don't go for any more. All right, so these are mainly the skill pages that you're going to want to run. So first of all, we of course got her main one, which is probably the best one. I don't think I mean, you could buy it if you want, but obviously there's some other options you could use that it won't. This isn't like the best skill page in the game, but it's really good, really good. So what it does is when you take damage, there's a 20 up to 100% chance, 16% per dupe you get, to inflict special point -1 on all enemies. So when you're hit, you could reduce enemies like special points by like 3, 4, and it's going to happen to the whole team, which is really good. And then it also blocks HP recovery for the skill 2 on the person that you choose, which could be very good for 2 turns too. So I'd say this is going to be a very, very good skill page. Now there's this one that is a mini version of it. It's 20 up to 40% only to reduce special points by 1 to only the attacker. This one's going to increase defense and endurance, which is good. And this one increases defense and healing. And this one's free to play. This one's free to play. And this one, I mean, you could choose, but this one, like, you could get from what's it called? Memory Hall. So yeah, that's basically it for the skill pages. And then afterwards, let's start talking about talents. So for talents, I'd say these 2 are probably the best. So this one has a 20% chance to reduce the cooldown of skill 2 by 1. And because your skill 2 is really good, that I think is pretty good, then you're gonna get the 10% block chance. That's basically going to be it for that. You're going to get the defense plus the defense every wave. And for this, I mean, you could go magic attack or crit. Either one of these two doesn't really matter. I don't really put much emphasis onto that. Now, if you do choose the like flowers, if we go to, I think Noelle has the full thing. Choosing defense on it for this is definitely the best way to go. And then for this, if you do end up doing it, go for speed. If you have a speed. If not, crit res for sure. But yeah, don't go for the HP. I think crit res is probably better. Unless you're using Charlotte, then don't go for that. But anyway, that's basically going to be it for the talents. Now for gear, I'd say this is probably the best. If not, you could like do a bit of mingling, go for like 2 speed, but I think 4 speed is going to be the best on her to make her attack very quickly, because she already has 112 speed, so getting her even higher speed is good. But you do want a bit of defense, so make sure that you do have at least a 2-piece upgraded defense piece. I have a decent amount of defense on her, considering that we also have the defense, which is going to give her what, 30% extra defense, which is going to bring up the 13k defense. So Noelle is going to be pretty good. But if you want to go, you could go 2-2-2 with speed, defense, and defense, maybe, if you want to tank more, because you're going to be getting taunted, or you're going to be taunting enemies. But I'd say for sure go for speed. Like, you have to have speed, because she's just like too high speed to not end up trying to buffer even more. Don't really go for attack. Now, I will briefly talk about this in the video, but mainly this is a good team. If you want, like, going for a full blue team, because Charlotte applies silence on the skill 2 is going to be good. And if you do use her with Charlotte, what you could do is you use the ultimate with Noelle to make it so they cannot ult, and then Charlotte is going to silence them for 1 turn, which means they cannot skill 2, so they're forced to use their skill 1, which is going to be very good. But if not, if you don't want to go for the full blue team, which is how Charlotte gets her silence, you could just do this. This is also a very good team. No matter what Noelle is going to be cooking, she does so much with her kit that she's very good. Sadly, you can't put another Noelle, but hey, I'd say mainly using blue units with her is the way to go 100%. This is going to be for extra tankiness, just saying. You get the damage reduction here, you get the total defense if you have Charlotte's skill page, and you're cooking. So yeah, some little teams, but except for that, not much more to say, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.